Ryan, welcome to my podcast.
Thanks for having me on the show, Andrew. I really appreciate you getting me on here. I think it's really nice of you. Thank you.
So I was speaking before about why we're doing this podcast, and we've been recording some really, really great content. And before I put it out, I was like, I really want to give substance to this podcast, and really, because there's so much there on different aspects of wealth, different aspects of performance, and they're packed with so much value. But I'm like, I wanted to bring it back and go, okay, let's introduce it. Let's talk about this podcast, and let's talk about high performance and how that plays in wealth creation. Because I think when you look at some of the best in the world, some of the best minds in the world, they put so much emphasis. And you've got your ones who don't really do that. They're just kind of like all systems go with business, all systems go with money, and then they end up dying early, or they have health problems or whatever, or their mind goes to shit or whatever. But I really like the way that you've gone about wealth creation, gone about high performance, and you've definitely you've inspired me to do a lot of things to focus more on my performance as opposed to making money in business, and more of the logical components of just wealth in general. And so I wanted to dive into that. And I guess this is not so much me interviewing you, but I'm really fascinated by diving into your mission and your purpose and your why of wanting to create this podcast, wanting to create your brand, the course that we're building, and also why you've created all this, and why you've brought me into this as well. And understand your vision a little bit more. So what was the vision for the podcast? Why? Because you've harped on to me for so long about this, and I gave in eventually, and I'll tell you why I had resistance. I've created podcasts in the past. This will be my fourth, and I love doing them. I love speaking. I love creating. I love hearing people's feedback. But one thing I've learned is keeping it consistent is the most important part. And so I wouldn't say that it was so much resistance from me. I would just say it was, okay, let's just think about it and make sure that when we pull the trigger, we pull it with no hesitation, and we're willing to see it out. So talk to me about why.
So the way the podcast came about, which you were in on it, so you should already know the answer to this, but I'll reveal it for everybody else. Andrew and I were doing, Andrew and I, and you're sitting right next to me, you and I were doing some just back and forth like we are right now. That's how it started. We were talking, you were asking me some questions, we were just bouncing back and forth with the microphones. The content from that first session is up on socials. And the content was really good. It was coaching content. It was off the cuff. There was no holding an iPhone and trying to sound great. And when I listened back on that session that you and I did, it was a really good session, a high energy session, a lot of good concepts, and it was just really moving. And I'd shared it with yourself, and I'd shared it with some other people, and they were like, "That's amazing content." And so I said, well, how can we do this consistently and all the time? So for all those people out there that aren't coaching clients of mine or aren't coaching clients of yours, they're getting that same level of intense coaching, not through just seeing me on a social media post at 6 a.m. going, hey guys, if you want to better your sales, you got to do this. Rather, they got to watch as if they were in a coaching session and go, cool, I can take that concept and I can go and act on it and I can get great results. That's why the podcast was really started, because I saw an opportunity and I capitalized on it. I saw an opportunity to bring people into my coaching space or your coaching space, get really good guidance, get really good advice, and then go and use it and get great results. And that's why I really started it. And since then, the content that has been put out from the podcast has been real life coaching and real life advice that I use every day with my coaching guys. And that's why, like, it was to give people content that really did stick to the 3R model that you helped me to create. It was every bit of content that gets put out there should give someone a result. So every listener, every viewer that's watching us right now should be getting a result. If they're not getting a result, then we're just talking, okay? B, the second R, right, there should be a reason to content. And that reason should ultimately be to get someone a result. So what's the deep emotional reasons behind what we're saying that's going to really help people move the needle? So result and a reason. The third was be real. The beauty of this podcast is when we're speaking here and we're having real conversation, our egos are gone. We're no longer trying to sound and look pretty on a video. We're actually giving real good guidance and advice and coaching as if you and I were just having a conversation in a business meeting around how we were going to help coach clients better. So it really is. This whole high performance podcast was called High Performance because that's exactly what our objective is to do, is to coach people through the podcast that maybe can't afford coaching right now, or can't afford to be a one-on-one client, or can't afford to be a group coaching client, or whatever it may be. They get to be coached right now. They get to start becoming high performers right now. They get to start getting results right now. And that's ultimately the reason it was called the High Performance Podcast. We'd spoken about so many different other names, like the Level Up Podcast or other things that were around becoming the best version of yourself. But I felt right, you felt right, we felt right on calling it High Performance, because this is about making you a high performer. This is about making you stronger, more mentally fit, making more money, creating more wealth for you and your family. That's what it's about.
Yeah, and I like the embodiment factor of that triple R model. And I know you've got a lot of passion around building content, being real, looking at creating like a production business that works, that's a full-scale solution for the clients as well, and being able to give that advice for free, but also understanding that within that group coaching space, it's just like 10x what it is here, and it's all off the cuff, and it's from your experience and this and that, and the people who you have on, same thing. Just like talk to me about what you do, why you do it, why that's important, what results have you got from it, like, and keeping it real reason result. And that's such an important model, and that's been really that's hit me in probably the last couple of weeks of how just those three words in themselves, for anyone who wants to market their business, for anyone who wants to create content for a personal brand, for anyone who I guess you could take it away from content and go, well, if I use the triple R model in my life, like that in itself is such a powerful motivator and driving force to go, okay, what's the reason I'm doing this? What results am I looking for? And if I'm real, if I'm honest, if I just do it and then not worry about what other people think, not worry, easier said than done, all this stuff, I'll get to where I want to go. And you bring that into the content game, into the marketing game, into building a business kind of game. That's how you build a brand.
And there's other guys, like in a lot of the coaching we do, there's a model Tony Robbins came up with that gets mentioned a lot in the group called the RPM model. And it's around, in life, you need to know what result you're looking for. You need to be clear as day. What do I want? What is the result? What's the purpose to the result, right? So what's the purpose? What's the meaning behind the result? Because that gives the emotional power and triggering. And then what's the M, the massive action that needs to get taken? What's the massive action plan or the map? That's Tony's. I resonate a lot with that. I didn't use Tony's to get to mine, but at the same time, I was like, it kind of gave me reaffirmation and justification that I was on the right path, with my thought processes, because that 3R model, we came up with that ourselves. we were sitting there, and ultimately that 3R came from our first session that wasn't even a podcast, because from that session, we kind of went, we actually gave some people some massive results in that session. There was a lot of reason behind what we were saying and how we were coaching and helping people. And we were so real, and that's why we wanted to do the podcast, because it was way better than social media content with one of us just holding the phone up to ourselves and the ego's talking, but there's no substance behind it. So that Tony model was really good for me, because it went, hey, we are on the right path with our thinking. Other guys that are super, super famous, billionaires, are doing the same thing. And I just think it answers so many of people's problems, because one of those 3 R's aren't lining up. They're either not clear on what they want, they're not clear on the result, they don't really have much ammunition behind the result, they don't really know the reason, they're not feeling it, it's not powerful enough, it's not compelling enough to amplify the result. And they're not just being their real self. They're trying to be like someone else. They're trying to take a cookie cutter approach on life. And it's like, be who you are. You know, if the result you really, really want is to be a keynote speaker on stage, you really want that. Your reason is because you are so keen to make a massive, monumental difference on the world. And being yourself is, you love speaking and you love motivating and you love inspiring people and you love doing it authentically and in a real manner. It's like, man, you got your 3R model. Now that's my 3R model there, in essence, right? It's like, you gotta sort of tick those boxes. And I think that's why the podcast was a good fit for us, because it ticked those 3 boxes. It enabled us to give a result. It enabled us to really act and operate and coach people with great reason to make a difference and an impact on the world. And, you know, I'm talking myself. Anyone that's been in any of my coaching sessions, one-on-ones, group coaching, the guy behind the video camera, people that know me in society and in public would say that's him talking like himself, not talking like some, you know, other person.
And I think going back to what you said before, like with people who do try to be someone they're not, or put on a facade, not be real. It's overthought, which I think is probably where people slip up. But what something like this does, and something like 75 Hard, which we'll touch on, is you're basically thrown, I wouldn't say you're thrown in the deep end, but you're given no choice but to just do it. And I think when you're forced just to do it, and it's like, you can either sit down here right now and do it, or you can tick the list off right now and do it. Like this morning, like you've had a week and a half. You've had 298 weeks in 1 week this week, and running off barely any sleep, up at 11 o'clock last night, finishing falling asleep at the mic. But it's like, we said we were going to do this today, and we're here regardless. And we've already done a group coaching at 5:45. Have you trained this morning? Did you train this morning?
Yeah. I trained at 11 o'clock last night.
I would have been very surprised if you'd already trained. But in here at 4. You're
quarter to 4.
You're in here at 4:45. Preparing this morning, 5:45, did an epic session that people got a shit ton out of, filmed 3 videos, had 40 coffees, and now we're here doing this. And what's the time?
8:30.
8:30 a.m. People are still sleeping. And when you're given no choice, I think it's one of those things where sometimes you wake up and you're just like, I'm just not feeling it today. So, nah. Not today. And then you wake up tomorrow and the same thing happens. And then you get used to that. And then the norm starts becoming, when I'm not feeling like it, which is probably 95% of the time, really, I'll just wait. I'll wait for the perfect time. I'll wait for like when things have lined up. We'll wait until we get some better equipment. We'll wait till the lighting's right. We'll wait until Jess has gone and she's designed the office nice, and we'll wait until we've had a couple more coffees, and we'll wait until maybe next week, and I'll get back from holiday, so I'll start then. No, you start now, because by doing this right now, we're creating content that will probably speak to someone. At least it'll speak to ourselves. And we're just kind of here going, I don't know what I'm going to say next.
I have no idea what I'm going to say next. This table was from Amart. It got bought yesterday. These microphones, I call them speakers, right? They're yours. I don't own them.
Yeah.
Okay. I was flat as F this morning. Okay. Will,
I thought you were dead.
Can you get my phone, Will, when you get a chance? The video guy's just got to get my phone. I want to read something out in a second.
Let's give Will a name.
Wilson.
Wilson. I reckon Wilson's going to be the Jamie of Joe Rogan. I think he's slowly going to make his way into this podcast and he'll become the star. I'm noticing, I was listening to Joe Rogan this morning. I'm noticing Jamie's actually got his own mic now. So when they talk to him, he can actually talk, whereas before he didn't. I reckon Will's going to be that.
Get Will a mic. We're getting William a mic. Our gold-plated mic. Get me one while you're at it because these aren't mine. So with the deskies, I got it from Amart yesterday. So my point is with all of this, where I'm going, okay, is this week we spoke a lot about imperfectionism, okay? We spoke about not trying to be perfect and waiting for the right time, going out there doing it. Because when you just do it and you don't have an agenda to do it, you tick the 3R box. You go, hey, I'm just there to help someone. I don't need to sound great. I can use an Amart or an IKEA table, but I'm going to go out there and give someone a result. Like I'm going to get them to be imperfect to get a result right now. Then the reason is I want to just help people. I don't care what they think and what I look like or what I sound like or anything else. It's like if they get something out of this, I've made a real difference, right? And then be real. I can't be more real than this. Asking Will, the video guy, to come over and bring me the whatever it's called, an iPhone, right? So I can read a message that just got sent to me. But I want to read the message out because I had an idea off the cuff, no staging, no agenda, around this morning. This morning, got up, felt like crap. We'll talk about that in a second. I was training way last night to do this accountability thing that we've been working on. And I was a little bit flat, and I had a guy of the group coaching call that I showed up for imperfectly and just helped him. And he said, just wanted to say you're making a massive impact on everyone, bro. We all talk about it. It's become a community how you wanted it to be. You deserve the break. This coaching is the best thing I've ever done for not just my business, but for me personally. You are the topic of majority of my conversations lately about the difference you're making. It also takes a toll on all of us getting up as our brains focusing at the crack of dawn every day. We coach at 5:45 every morning. Burnout is expected, blah, blah, blah. So just said some really good stuff. These guys, that was a great reaffirmation to me when I needed it because I imperfectly show up for them. I don't ever show up with everything planned. I make a lot of mistakes. I do a lot of things wrong. You do not as much things wrong. We show up to give them a result. They're getting results. They're getting great results. We show up with great reason to really, really help them and to move the needle. And we're super real, okay? Yeah. And so what I've been coaching them on this week is being imperfect, just like this, just showing up, ticking the 3R model and really going out and helping people with a good reason. And I think when you can do that with that good intent and that good reason and those good results, you're going to get the benefits. And one video that stuck with me this week that I used in the coaching was a guy who's super famous. It's a 1 minute video. We can even chuck it up in this podcast or at the end of this podcast. And he's like, we all have so much like good intuition and good ideas. And he used another word, which I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's like, we just have this ability to help people so much and to help ourselves so much, but we let logic in the way. Whereas he uses the example of a boxer. Most boxers can box anyone can box so well because they kind of know how to move and flow and their whole psychology and their whole body knows how to protect themselves because that's what our minds are designed to do, to protect ourselves and our hands know where to go. Yet ironically, we overthink how we're to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
So we don't let our natural makeup work. We kind of go and put our hands up stiff and we try and protect ourselves, and we get scared and fear, and then we lose all our gifts. So it's like what he's saying in this video is just be you, be imperfect.
Let's see if I can play it. The ad. Nope. Skip.
Special forces guys on hand-to-hand self-defense, and even like regular people like you and me, he teaches us like street self-defense, how to protect yourself. And he says, hey, if I'm gonna like punch at you, he goes, you're instantly gonna do this. Like, you have instincts that go to protect. Your shoulders come up to protect the arteries, and your hands go up to protect your face. Your instincts 99% of the time are accurate and will kick in. The problem is we get so comfortable with life, we begin to put our instincts on hold, and we go, what would I logically do? Imagine if you tried to punch me right now, if you were standing in front of me, and I'm like, let me think what I should do. My instincts will tell me what to do based on a reaction. If we can allow our instincts to take control again, we will make the right decision. But so many people want to think about it, they want to fact find, they want to gather all the information, they want to make sure it's the perfect and right decision every time. In the meantime, success happens in imperfection, not imperfection.
And that's exactly what you were just saying to a T.
Yeah.
It's like I was looking for the word. It was instincts, right?
Yeah.
We have all the right instincts to go out there, help people get a result, operate with great reason, and then be real. Yet we let all these other people and these other influences and these other things and this feel we've got to be different get in the way.
And it's also, I think, and where I think you really excel, and where I think I can do it, but where I think you really excel is like if you're literally just thrown in a tank with a bunch of sharks, you'll punch your way out. And what I mean by that is you can show up completely unprepared and still give a really, really good presentation in group coaching. Not saying you're not well prepared, but for me, I know that the more I prepare, the better I can deliver, and that's just being you and I just being different in that aspect. I operate better. I love really knowing what I'm going to speak about. I don't like having things scripted out. But the way I like things designed and the way I like to talk about things is different to you. My instincts tell me that if I prepare the day before, if I prepare a couple of days before, if I think about it throughout the week and I jot down my ideas and before I make the presentation, I've got everything aligned and I know what I'm going to speak about, I present really, really well. For you, your instincts are, bro, just give me a fucking word and I'll speak on it for 45 minutes and I'll blow people's minds away. I think there's a balance there of intuition and knowing what works for you, and also not trying to be like anyone else. And what I mean by that is if I go and try and speak like Eric Thomas, the hip hop preacher who's fucking yelling in people's faces, or Dan Penner, or someone completely different to Tony Robbins, this and that, I'll be a fake. I'll be a phony. But if I know what works for me and I speak like me and I do for me and I like to bring a little bit of humor into the way I present and try and just be real and bring in stories that happened the day before, this and that, like I know that works really well for me. What works for you is different. But it's always real. It's always real, or it always tries to be real anyway. So I think that's important, is like he's saying, like, use your instincts, yeah, but no boxer is the same. Different boxers prepare differently. Different boxers react differently to different circumstances. They're using their instincts, but as individuals, they're different.
I think you preparing for a week or a month or 2 months or 3 months in advance is fine. I think that's a good quality. I think being organised is super, super important and something that isn't my greatest strength. But I think if you look at the 3R model again, it's like, what result are you getting for other people? That's something that you should be thinking about and planning for and organising for a week or 2 weeks or 10 weeks. How can I amplify the results for these guys, right? Second is, What is the reason? I don't think you need to prepare for that as long as you are mindful of the reason that you're wanting to get these results for people. Okay, that's almost your emotion. That's your power. That's your flavor, which I'm very reason and very why strong. Okay, very purpose strong. And then be real is your nature again. So if I applied it to this model, it would be focus your time and energy creating your content or how you're helping people on the result you're going to get them. And then you can think about your ideas on what's going to fit getting them that result. You can spend time preparing for that. And then you get to bring your reason to the game, which is how I show up strong. I have a good reason, I have a good purpose, I have a good intent, and I just got to be myself, which is what you're talking about, be real. And I think if you do that, you're going to bring power to everything you do. Sometimes I miss the result bit at the front because I haven't planned well enough, haven't organised well enough, haven't been mindful enough of what is the key result I'm bringing to the table to get to the people. My reason is so strong and my realness is so strong. That is where the power comes in. But sometimes doing what you do really well is getting that result front of mind and very, very clear, having those 3 R's in turbocharge. You're gonna change people's lives.
Yeah, like that. Why were you up at 11 o'clock last night?
Accountability. I'm doing this 75 hard that you're doing as well, which I think is a really cool, cheap accountability thing around fitness and personal development. And got home yesterday. Hadn't trained. Hadn't done the things I needed to do on my list to stick to this challenge or regime. Fell asleep with my young man, my little son Orlando, and woke up at 10 and I was like, fire, I haven't done what I said I'd do. This 3-month challenge, I haven't done 2 exercises today, or 2 sessions I was meant to do. I haven't drunk 4 litres of water. I haven't read a book. So I'm sitting up at night, walking the streets of where I live in Kingcumber to do the sessions. I'm reading a book at 12 o'clock at night, but hey, I stuck to the plan. I'm still going.
So, which is interesting because it's funny. We're doing the same program, but we're also doing it so differently, and I think why we're both doing it is to build a better version of ourselves. I think that's first and foremost. But listening to Andy Frisella, who is the one who made the program, the one thing that stuck out for me, it's not the body transformation, it's not the new diet, it's not the anything, it's just mental toughness. Just teaching more mental toughness, more mental resilience. And I think that's such an important part of high performance in general. And it's like, and I've been speaking to a couple of different people about like why do 2 workouts a day? Why do so it's 2 workouts a day, 4 liters of water, gallon of water, read 10 pages, stick to a diet, no cheat meals or alcohol, and I think that's it. Is that it? And it's like why? What are you trying to gain for that? Like you'll probably just wreck your body. Spoken to a couple of people, they're like, that's not good for you, like this and that. And it's like, yeah, but if I can take that and I can get through that and it takes my standard, raise the bar from like, if I can go through this and I can prove to myself that that's possible and raise that bar and raise that limit and this and that, then life's just going to be so much easier. And I think one thing that I've always really come back to, from traveling a lot. I traveled a lot of the world a couple of years back, and perspective was always one thing that really stuck out for me, and it was perspective and it was gratitude. And I've always said to people, if you can travel the world, you'll come back such a better human, because when you grow up on a place like the Central Coast, or when you grow up in a relatively affluent place that's medium to high socioeconomic, you don't really have to worry too much about being homeless or this or that. Much adversity, you become really soft, and you don't have. And I've seen it with people, is when they haven't experienced any kind of adversities. And this is something I always used to worry about. with me, because I haven't faced massive quote unquote adversities, is that your perspective on the world is like anything that kind of bad happens to you, it's like the world's over. When you travel the world and when you experience these things, you realize that the world can be a pretty shit place, but it helps you understand how great life is back at home. And I think doing a challenge like this allows you to kind of raise that bar and go, okay, cool, it's going to suck. I'm going to be up at 11 o'clock sometimes. But fuck, that's as bad as it gets. Like, really? Like, if I can't do that, I said to myself, if I can't do 75 hard, I got to look myself in the mirror. I got to go and get punched in the face a couple of times, because if I can't do something like 75 hard, I got a lot of work to do. And I think the other thing it creates, and this is where I said before, you and I are doing it so differently, is like, I'm finding it, I'm in the early stages, so I know it'll probably get tougher down the track, but I know that I have to do a workout in the morning. I have to do a workout before I come in here every morning, because if I don't, I'll be up at 11 o'clock, and that scares the shit out of me, because I know that I probably wouldn't be able to do that. I know that I would really, really, really struggle. You seem to be able to do that a lot better. Kind of guess at the end of the day, it's like, fuck, I gotta drink 4 liters of water. I've got to read 10 pages. I've got to do everything, and you get it done. Whereas for me, I find that, and it comes back before saying I'm probably a bit better of a planner than you are, like thinking ahead. And I stage it out. And I think that's what it's taught me, is the more structured your life can be, and the more you chunk your time, and the more you plan, and the more you calendar, and the more you think ahead, man, life just becomes so much easier in all areas. Like booking the dinner table ahead, like getting into the gym early makes you feel good. Like knowing that Monday morning you've got a 2-hour window to work on the business, not in the business. Like that stuff is what turbocharged 3,000 million infinity twister is your business and your life, is just having a plan and just being structured and consistent.
I think that's a big one. I think that's what it's pulling out in me, is it's saying, hey man, you got great reason, and you've got great realness in how you coach people, but sometimes you just planning on the results and scheduling them in is where you're falling a bit short, because I try and help so many people, and sometimes I don't help enough people because I'm trying to help everybody, and that's something I'm working on. And so this morning, for example, in here at 4 o'clock to coach guys, didn't do my gym session. I'm either going to get it done in sort of lunchtime, or it's going to be again tonight, okay? And it's going to just keep hurting until I make the change. And the actual ironic reason for me to do 75 hard was like, I don't want to take a drop of alcohol for 3 months. I want to be the best, fittest version of myself for 3 months, and I want to get rid of all these bad habits. Now, ironically, all these bad habits are gone now, at least for this time, and I'm going to pretty much cement them, because I'm going to do a thing called Live Hard, which is like a whole year of doing this, right? But I've now got all this extra time that I'm, not a bit lazy on the weekend because I had a few beers the night before, or I have deeper sleeps because I'm not eating a T-bone steak at 11 or 10 o'clock at night, right? I've got all these good ingrained habits now. I'm in like a peak state of fitness right now. I'm in a high performance physical state and also mental state, which I'm going to retain for a long, long time. But it's still calling me out. It's still saying, yeah, you're in peak performance. Yeah, your business is doing really well. Yeah, you got great team. You got great people around you. You got to do that gym session in the morning like Andrew. Because if you keep doing it at night, we're going to keep hurting you. We're going to keep hurting you. And then you're forced, your hand is forced, because you're acting at least consistently, is to go work out a better way to plan. Yeah. So you can keep getting heaps done. And that's why you said it's really how you turbocharge your life. It's like we all try and do too much. We all quit too easily. We all don't prioritize our time. We all don't focus. It's like when you just get clear on what do I really want, why do I really want it, and be yourself, and then make time for that and stick to it consistently, anyone can become a multimillionaire. It's really quite simple. Yeah. But instead what we do is we go, I don't want to plan. There's too much anxiety in it. If I decide to start something, I'm probably going to only stay with it for a while. I don't really know the result I'm going for. I don't even really know why I'm going for it. And I don't really know who I am. And so when all these things come to fruition, which is most of us, we go, I'm just going to keep getting the results I get every single other year. And so this is all about becoming high performers with our perspective and how we see things, high performers with what we do and how we act, and high performers, in our business and in our life. And I think we all have that high performance potential. We just don't have a plan or a system to do it.
Yeah, and I think like it's interesting hearing you speak about that, because it's like it then makes it paints a clearer picture of why people don't make money, why people don't make the millions that they want to make. Is one, they don't have a plan, or they overcomplicate it, or they go through life so reactively that you're constantly behind the eight ball, but also there's no reason for it. It just sounds good. It's like there's nothing. Making $1 million for a lot of people, and for me, probably even so now, there's no substance behind it. And it's like, yeah, but why do you want to be a millionaire? Like, for some people, it's like, I want to be a millionaire so bad. It's all I've ever wanted. And it's likely that they'll get there because they've got that conviction and that want and that desire. But I think for a lot of people, it's just the idea that sounds good, but there's no like, it's not a priority. It's like, I want it, but no, I'm just going to go home early today. Or it's like, oh, I'll sleep in. Like, again, I'll do it tomorrow. It's always looking into the future. And that's one thing that doing all of this, like being here for the last couple of weeks is like, I can get so much shit done when I just kind of decide that I'm going to do it, and then I just do it. And that's what 75 Hard is so good at. It's like it's cementing daily action that you can choose to be on top of it, and it's wouldn't say easy. My body's sore as fuck right now, but you can do it in a way that it's super manageable, or you can fall behind the eight ball and let it crush you. And I think that's so prevalent because it does take planning. It does take prioritization. It does take systemization. And when you don't know about any of that, and when you haven't learnt it, I've learnt it somewhat in a hard way, and I know you're the same. When you don't know it, it doesn't make sense. You don't know the reason why you can't make money. You don't know the reason why you can't stick to a plan. You don't know the reason why you can't keep weight off, like this and that. And it just comes down to a lot of the stuff that you say, the triple R, have a reason, result, and keep it real, but also just simplicity. And that's why 75 Hard works. We've spoken about it, is you got 5-6 things to do every day. You got no choice but to do them.
It ticks all the boxes. Like if I had a value system, and I think this is, most people will pick this from my language, and they'll pick it from, especially the guys that I coach, is similar to Imperfectly, like we spoke about before. I always talk about 3 key words, just like the 3R model, okay, which is result, reason, and being real. I use that a lot in like content or marketing and a lot of others. But that all got created from me over the last 5 years, hammering on and on and on and on and on again to people going, keep it simple. Like imperfect is just another sort of, I suppose, synonym of the same. Like it's keep it simple. And then I started to find another word that was important, which was like make it meaningful. So not just keep it simple, make it meaningful. Which meaningful is pretty much exactly the same as reason. Have a reason. So make it meaningful and stay consistent. So keep doing it. So I always have been with my coaching clients, keep it simple, make it meaningful, and keep it consistent, right? And the 3R model is kind of just an extension of that, right? Just which I used for content because I wanted it to be those same sort of lines. Simple was like result almost. What's the simple thing that you're trying to achieve? What's the simple thing that needs to be done? What's the key simple result? So simple and result went hand in hand. Meaningful was the same as reason. Meaningful, what's the meaningfulness? What's the reason, right? And then be real was probably the only difference. Being real was just be yourself when you're doing content. Consistency was like 75 hard. Just keep showing up and keep doing the thing. And I think we're in a place right now where it's info overload, it's brain overload, it's things to concern and worry about overload, it's 500 different variables overload. It's like if you break it down to simple, meaningful, consistent, or if you break it down to the 3R model, or you use some other little model yourself to get a grasp of your life and how you plan and organize and follow a similar thing to 75 hard, it's like, what is the most important thing for you? Like, what is that key result you're looking for, right? For yourself and for others. There's probably something in there. If you're a builder, it's probably building beautiful dream homes for my clients. It's probably building a dream home for myself as well. Like, you probably know your key result. What's the reason behind it? I love doing it so much, and I love giving it to other people so much. And there's so much heart in it. And then that's being your authentic self. Now, if you just did that, like got really simple and clear on just that and just did that over and over and over again, you'd make $1 million in a heartbeat. But it's like you start putting all these different focus points into your perspective or your lens, you end up going, I find it hard to plan because there's so much to plan for. There's so many things to go on, and then you end up making $100,000. But it's the guys that go, what's the most important real result I'm looking for with the greatest reason behind it, for example. It's kind of you narrow in and then you double down. And then you get there so quick.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, it's like, coming back to this program, like you see crazy results from people because that's their thing every day. It's like in between all the other stuff, in between all the other areas of life, it's like the part for you is a simple checklist. And we've spoken about it before too, is trialing something similar for business. And just like you imagine if you posted twice a day and you had no choice but to post twice a day. And then you looked at your numbers in one way, shape or form once a day.
Well, for me, right, I'm 35, spent 20 years saying every single start of the year, I'm not going to drink this year. And then it gets into like 5 weeks, I'm like, hey boys, what are you doing? It's Friday, I'm stressed, man. I've got to go get a beer, right? This simple thing, like that simple checklist, and it's just so simple. So stacked with meaning and so consistent, right? It's like every day for 75 days, you are to do these things, which you mentioned before. 2 workouts, drink 4 litres of water, read 10 pages of a self-help book, etc., etc. You have to tick each box that you do it every day, then you move on to the next day.
Yeah.
You do that for 75 days. If you don't do it, then you fail. You have to go back to the start. So simple, so meaningful, so consistent. I haven't drunk in 61 days, right? We easily get to 75 days. I've done those other things as well on the list. I've changed. It was like, look how easy that was. But I'd tried for not 20, probably 15 years to not drink. Every year I said the same thing. I'm going to not drink for the whole year, because you have a really big drink on New Year's Eve and you're like, swear you're never going to drink again. But then you relapse.
Yeah.
I haven't relapsed. So it's like, it really is that simple. And most people fail because A, they don't keep it simple enough, what they really want and why they really want it. They don't have enough heart in it, right? And they don't stay consistent. But if you can just go, cool, this is how simply I'm going to achieve what I want, less is more, and I'm just going to stay consistent, and this is the system I'm going to use to stay consistent, you can make $1 million in a year. You can make $1 million in 2. It's so simple.
Yeah, and it's funny how it's like you look at something like that and you go, yeah, but there's no money making in that. And it's like, it's that simple black and white look of like, no, like if it's not a transaction, I'm not interested in it. If it's not linked to me making some kind of money, it's I'm not interested in it. And I know for a lot of people that's not the case of like that's how they perceive money, but I think it is definitely overlooked in how much our health, how much our habits, how much our personal development, how much learning is required, and how much we should be prioritizing learning more than doing. Learning, implementing, taking action, taking simple action on that, on top of staying consistent with our life and looking after our relationships and doing all the things on the outside, which I think is why someone like Tony Robbins is so successful. Like he's built companies upon companies upon companies, but his passion is teaching people how to live better lives overall, and relationships and this and that. Because if they're not looked after, then you've made all the money, but what are you doing at the end?
And he's absolutely, he says something. He says, where focus goes, energy flows. Like, as far as I'm aware, that was his quote, right? No one else gave him that quote. Where focus goes, energy flows. Now, he focused on what he loved to do most. He got really clear on that, and then learnt from the best on how to do it, and then went out and helped everyone on how to do it, and then he became like the key person, right? Now, for anybody out there, if they just ask those key questions around, like, what is my key result? What is my key reason? How am I being my real self? They would go out and just go, for example, right? I'll use you as an example. I want to make $1 million. Cool. Ask yourself the important questions. Let's start with, what do I love just doing, right? And let's say for you, it was like, I just love doing photography and I love doing video. Like, let's go to your younger version of you, right?
Yeah.
If you were like, that's what I love doing the most, the result is I want to give that to the world. I want to double down and give that to the world. My reason is I just love it so much, and I love seeing how much I can capture people's like greatest experiences in their life. And that was your mission. That was like, that's the result I'm going to go do. That was my mission. You did nothing else. You let the finance people do their thing. You let the tax accountants do their thing. You let everybody else do their thing. You just double down, and you built people to help you along the way, and you just did that, and that's all you did. And you didn't get any other distractions, nothing else in the world, because that fueled you energetically, and you focused on that 100%. You'd have $1 million so quick.
Oh man, and I was definitely on that trajectory, and it's interesting looking back, like at the peak of where I'd built my content business. It was like another 2 years. If I'd stopped there and gone, okay, right now, like if I could go back there with what I know now, it's like, man, if I had someone to sit down with me like you, to look over everything, to balance everything out, and then to be able to go, okay, this is now who you need to bring on, this and that. Like, I was overloaded with work to the point I burnt out, and then I actually ended up just kind of moving out of that. But easily could have kept doubling for another 3-4 years, because I was passionate about it. It just got too much. And then I just lost passion because it did get too much. And I find that like especially in the earlier days, I didn't really care like about making money. I didn't really care about, I cared about making money, but we still got to make money to live. But for me, it was just about just doing it. Like, just doing it. And I think that's the balance between love what you do, but be smart about it as well. And I think having a strategy, hence why you've got this business, is like, for people who just kind of, it's like you sit down with them and they're like, oh, man, the only thing I want to do is I just want to speak to people about their dream home. I want to help them map it out. And then I want to do this certain thing. And I don't want to have to worry about the rest. I don't want to have to worry about numbers. I don't want to have to worry about the bricklaying or the concreting or whatever. I just want to build the stairs, and I want to be able to work with the client and just map out everything. So those two key focuses, well, it's like, okay, so who else do you need to bring in to make that happen? Then it's like, then you no longer have to be the person doing everything and fall out of love with the business and start spending 80% of your time on the shit that you don't like. It's like you spend the 20% of your time on the stuff that you love, and you've got everyone around you, and then you build $1 billion business.
But it's just that. It's like the business grows, excuse the pun, right? You being the camera guy, your lens goes out, right? Because then you're focusing on the bricklaying and stuff, and then you refocus the perspective of the lens, and you go back to, this is what I love doing the most. all you people do this. I don't want to do the bookkeeping.
Yeah.
I don't want to do the bricklaying. I don't want to do the this. I don't want to do the that. I don't want to do the this. I just want to do all the clients and build a staircase. So you refocus your lens to bring it back in, get other people to do the other stuff, and then you're still just going towards that, right? I'm making $1 million, and then $10 million, then $100 million, and then you just keep focusing your energy, and you keep making the money. And I think that's what we struggle to do, because just like 75 hard, it's like 75 hard combats the fact of going, oh, no, I did it for 5 days. Now I'm just going to go try something else. It's like, no, just do this. Just keep doing that. Like, that's what you said you love to do. That's how you want to get these massive results for people. That's your reason behind it. Just keep doing that and don't stop. And everything else is just a distraction. Get someone to do it.
Yeah, and I on that, because I was like, okay, cool. And my dad always uses camera analogies, so it's funny, but similar to, I guess, a builder or anyone who uses tools that need recalibrating every now and then. Recalibrate the tool so that it works effectively long term. But one of my favorite analogies or stories is about a plane. Plane will never go in a straight line to a destination. It's always swinging and swaying, and it always has to be. It always has to make slight trajectory changes, because it has to factor in wind. It has to factor in, like, the world isn't flat, so you've got to factor in all these different elements, and slowly, every now and then, slightly change your trajectory so that you get to your destination. It's got one single pointed focus, but it knows that it is going to be swayed left and right and up and down and this and that. If it doesn't counter it over time, every 5-10 minutes, whatever a plane does, if it doesn't change its trajectory and realign and come back to understanding where it's going, then over the course of time, it'll end up on the other side of the world, right? So if you can stay on that, and one thing I've noticed is when I leave things, and it's like things compound. So if I sleep in one day, it's like, oh, it's just a day. Another day. All of a sudden you get 100 days in, you've lost 100 hours of your life because you've hit snooze for an hour. It's like, oh, fuck, I'm on the other side of the world now. And I actually wanted to be over there. Like, I actually wanted to be at peak physical fitness, and I wanted to be, I wanted to have $1 million business and this and that. But now, because I didn't do that thing every day that actually was quite easy, it was just recalibrating every day to make sure I'm going to the right destination, I'm now nowhere near where I want to be. And I'm speaking to myself in that, and hence why we're both doing this program, is like, if you can get the basics down pat and just always come back to structure and discipline and simplicity, and you have a plan in place, you'll get to where you want to go, ultimately. And look, ask me in 65 days, and I'll tell you if it works. Like, ask me if I'm where I envision myself to be, and I'll tell you.
Well, part of the thing you need to do every day is take a progress shot. I've lost like 8 kilos.
That's the other one.
I've lost like 8 kilos, right? I'm almost at the end. I've always been very results driven, and I've always had great reason in what I've been doing. I've always, just like this content, but I've always been inconsistent. Not always, but sometimes. You just
Me too.
There's too many things that come into your space. This has made me be consistent. This is when you know the result and you know the reason, you got to stay there. You got to keep doing it. You can't go off and say you're going to do something and then not do it, because then you're doing that 100 hours of lost performance now. So this is very much around knowing what you really want, what that result is, knowing the reason and the power and the emotion behind it, the love behind it, and then being able to stay there.
And it's hard to, like, it's when I say hard, it's the podcast that Andy Frisella has is Hard AF, the Hard AF podcast. And the way that he just spoke to me in that podcast, I was just like it's plain and simple. Like, I love I think they play us such a strong role. I know you got people in your life like that, and I do as well. I feel like I probably need a little bit more of it. Is people who just kind of call you out and just go, stop being a fucking pussy. Like, and I've spoken to a couple of people about this, about, hey, it's toxic, like toxic masculinity, this and that. I also think that we're such a soft society at the moment, and I think we need to bring that back in and not look at it as toxic. Just kind of go, nah, like, but understand that if you really want something, that's important. If you wanna go with the flow and be off with the fairies and you got no aspiration, cool, you don't need that. But for me, I want to be somewhere. I want to aspire for something. If I don't have those people in my corner going, Andrew, you're sleeping in. You didn't need the extra sleep in. You're just being a bitch. Like, you know what you want. This is like you like calling me out, not giving me an out, like not knowing what I want and coming from a place of love and going, nah, dude, like you fucked up. Start again. Like you fucked up. And this program is like, you don't have a coach. There's no coach, but you know when you haven't done the task. And what was it?
Day one.
No, day 3. So day 1 I failed because I didn't take the progress photo. But I think it was day 3, I did a workout and I was running late and I did a 40-minute workout, not a 45. And I got in the shower at the gym and I'm just there, just going, I didn't do it. I'm like, I could lie to myself, but I'm like, that doesn't sit with me. Like that, for whatever reason, this program just embeds this severe guilt when you know you haven't done it, this severe guilt. I'm just like, I really don't want to start again. I really don't want to start. I'm like, my only way, and there was actually relief. I was like, oh, cool, I'll just do 2 more workouts. So I did 3 workouts that day, and it was like, it hurt, but at the same time, I was like, nah, I'm 5 minutes. Like, it's not about pushing your body. It's not about this. It's about don't take shortcuts.
And even in saying that, and I've said this to you, I've been open about this to you. I mainly did this for no drinking, and I mainly did this because I just wanted to build that level of crazy consistency on what I really wanted and why I wanted it. But I haven't drunk, haven't had a drop of alcohol, 60-something days, right? Have stuck to my diet, but I've had little blemishes, and I've told you about it. I've said one night I was reading my book, fucking fell asleep, and I was like, "You failed, then, man." Now I technically have failed, right? And I've told you, I've told Lara, I've told other people about it. I'm still doing it. Hear me out. I know I've failed the actual key core elements because it's like you have to do those pages of the book. I'm still doing it, still ticking off the list every day because for me, I don't want to just go, oh, I failed, and then just go and drink a beer or whatever else, or even go start the whole thing again because I know I'm going to go away on holidays and I'm going to drink. So I'm being realistic. So for me, it was like, I'm going to keep going. I know I failed, so I don't deserve to tick off the final day and then have the full, I did it. But what I will be doing is going again as soon as I get back from holidays because I'm going to drink and I need to just have a breather. I'm going to come back and I'm going to do it just like you did, and I'm going to tick off every single day just like I'm doing now, but know that I did it. Know that I really did it. So I won't be ticking off the last day. The last day I will fail. I'm just ticking off every day now because I want to keep the habit building. I'm loving I want to keep going. So testament to you doing that.
So if you just so happen to forget what you've just said and you post the photo that you
there will be
it,
no posting.
I am going to screenshot it and I'm going to come on this podcast by myself or with you and go, you fucking failed.
Nah, bro.
You fucking failed. But, and that's, I'm sitting here, my mind goes, and I'm a compassionate person. I'm probably a little bit too soft. I find it really hard to be the tough dude in the room. Which is why I really feel like I need more of that in my life. Shout out to anyone who's tough and who wants to bash me, but mentally and emotionally, not physically. But knowing that you're going to do it again, knowing that you've got the live hard in mind. I'm happy to let it slip. But yeah, bro, if you post anything, I'm fucking coming for it.
No, it's failure. It's failure. For me, the win right now is still going, still doing it. I'm not gonna take the title. Still doing it each day till I get to the 75 days. Owning it at the 75th day, saying, you know, I did the 75 days, but I did fail elements.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go again.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make sure I don't fail any elements, just like not reading the full 10 pages of the self-help book. As stupid as that was, it failed me, right?
It honestly is always the small things. The progress failed day one because I didn't take my post for it. Like, they're just the easy to forget things.
It happens. Is what it is.
Yeah. All right, Mad, where to next?
Where to next? So I think a couple of core elements from this session have really been, it is about having a result and having a reason to everything you're doing. Know your result you're going for. Know what you really want for yourself and others. Know the reason behind it, because that gives you the power, enough power to do a 75 hard challenge. And then be yourself, be real. They're the 3 R's. But then I think the icing on the cake on all of it is you got to stay consistent. You got to lock this shit in the diary. Less is more. If you did one thing's fine. If you had, this is the key one result, this is the key reason, this is me being real, and I'm going to lock that in the diary, and that's all I'm going to do. At least professionally, that's all I'm going to do. Just stick it out for 12 months. Just keep doing that and just doing it more and more again. And the stuff you don't want to do, outsource it, dump it, delegate it, do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And then you'll get to that place. And that's high performance, I think. I think a lot of high performance is staying really, really focused on what you really want and why you really, really want it, and then not relapsing.